Why Not? A queer podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine,
Why Not? A queer podcast.
episode 65.
Hey, I think our episode can start. Can it start like getting Social Security, Medicare,
Yeah.
Medicaid?
Yeah,
Can
it's
we
officially
retire?
retirement age.
Can we retire now?
No, not in this economy.
Could this be our last podcast? No,
No,
it can't be. We have to do another year's worth.
Yeah.
Thanks to our sponsor,
Yes.
Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV and STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
Did you notice on this that I gave you all like the letters?
All the...
You have all the complicated words.
Oh.
I didn't realize
I'm
that
like, there is extensive medical testing being done. They're open on Mondays.
12 cc's of Epi-Stat. They're open on Mondays.
Reminds me of a character in a show we're watching. I like peacocks. You sure do, John.
Will there be peacocks? Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So 65. It's a lot. We're more than halfway to 100. And I'm sure we will have some big celebration, pageantry, the top 100 jokes that no one laughed at.
I think what we need to do, I wouldn't say no one. Jen listens and she laughs at everything. We should do for our 100th show, we should do the top 100 things we said we were going to do for our 100th show, but never did.
Ooh, I like that.
It's kind of like our anniversary.
Number 1, studio audience.
Ooh. How many shows can we get in between now and Fringe? And then we'll do the show at Fringe, and it'll be a 100th.
The next Fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You know, this might be a nice little change up for our listeners. I don't have 1,000 things to just banter about.
yeah, I was looking at the script and I was like, oh, we're not plugging the prom, but that happened.
It
We
did
went to the
happen. We're going to
prom.
talk about it in a minute.
I
I mean, you know, there's not much I did outside of that this last week. So if you want to jump right into the prom, we can.
mean, we can. I did other stuff.
Oh,
We can
go
talk
ahead.
about prom.
No.
I was waiting for you to say, what did you do this week?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to follow the script.
Line. Oh, that's a theater reference, not a 2 a.m. in the bar reference.
Oh. I don't know what you mean by that.
I mean, there's something I'm supposed to say. Anyway, what did you do this week, Jeremy?
Thanks for asking, Rick. Let's see. Oh, you know what I did? That was a lot of fun. My friend Melissa, her daughter plays all of the sports, but she's in softball right now. And she's like, I hope Melissa's not listening because I can't remember how old she is. 6, 7,
32. Oh,
8, somewhere in that region. So she's a little kid.
if we're going by reality show rules, she's in her mid-20s.
Yes. So I went and watched one of her softball games. And I've seen, like, you play softball, and I've come out and seen some of your games. And I used to go when I was in the Air Force. I actually coached a softball team, the B team. We were all just drunk. But we watched games then. I have never enjoyed watching a softball game, and specifically because when adults play softball, they like to yell at each other. And they're like, get the ball. Why don't you pull your head out of your ass? Do this, do that, which is not enjoyable. The kids, however, they play for the love of the game. And those little kids running around trying to catch softballs, the parents were losing their minds because they're like, get to second base, throw it to second. And like the little kids would be standing there and they're just like, huh? What? And then they would run to first and they're like, no, throw it. And then they would throw it to first. No, to second. It was hilarious. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the kids enjoyed it. And the kids the kids' head coach, not a bad looking fella. He was nice to look at.
I feel like it was a team of 6-year-olds.
Yeah, it was all kids.
I feel like
Little kids.
they might have beat us this last weekend.
Oh,
I had a softball game too, and I feel like some 6-year-olds might have taken us down.
I don't remember which team won, but one of the teams won like 8-5. So they were pretty good. But it was a good time. The parents were a little too, I don't know. You would call them stage moms in theater. I don't know what you call sports. Aggressive sports parents,
Bleacher coaches. I don't know,
Sure.
something like that.
But they were like, run, get there, get that, and it was hilarious. It was a good time. The weather was beautiful this weekend, so it was nice to actually do some outdoorsy stuff. I also did, that piggyback on that. I apparently spent a lot of time with the children of Casselberry this past week because earlier this week, I did a story on the Walden School. Which is a private, small funded school that prides itself on its diversity and inclusive policies. And their kids had an art show. And I got to go talk to the art teacher and look at the art. And it's sort of like with the Trash to Trends thing they do, where they take a bunch of garbage and turn something beautiful, make something beautiful out of it. And they had this really beautiful like Queen of the Mushroom Village setup, and these kids were super talented. They made like these big mushrooms made out of Coke bottles and chip wrappers. And it was fantastic.
Oh,
So
I wish I could have said it. I would love to see something called Queen of the
Mushroom Land.
Yeah.
Isn't that just Princess Peach on Super Mario Brothers? Anyway, kind of had a Princess Peach look
know
to her.
her. Is she the she's the one
Super Mario
she's
princess.
the one you try to get to
Yeah.
by jumping up the flagpole?
Yes.
In the original.
Well, jumping down. Yeah, you try to get as high as you can, but then
Yeah.
you slide down the flagpole. Yeah. Yeah. But you only meet her at the end because all the other castles is a toadstool, and it's like the princess is in another castle. Anyway,
Always moving around that princess.
Shout out to Walden School, and the exhibit is on display at the Casselberry Art House, I think. I will double check that, and I'll check back in with you next week. But I think it's the Casselberry Art House. It's on display through the end of the month, and so go check it out. The kids did an amazing job.
Well, good.
Yeah. So lots of good activities from the children's this past week. Good work, generation.
What did you say the score in that softball game was?
8-5?
And you're like, one of the teams was really good because it was 8-5. I would like for you to guess what the score was in my softball game.
Based on that tone, I'm going to say it was 12-1. Oh, no. That was a deep sigh.
You know what's so funny is right before we were going into play, so the girls were playing on a different field, and I heard somebody yell to them, "Is like, hey, at least it wasn't nothing." You know, meaning at least they'd scored something, and I laughed, and I was like, God, I hope that's not us.
Ooh. Did you not score anything?
We did. We scored like 6 runs.
Oh,
right?
nice.
That's not bad.
That's not
that
bad
was
at
in
all.
the last 2 innings of the game. We scored 3 and then 3. At one point, the game was. This is when I got up to bat. Right, I get up to bat like a second time, and I look at the scoreboard, and I was like, oh my God. So I look at the catcher, and I was like, 17. Is that all you guys can do? Really, 17? I think he thought I was being serious because he didn't laugh, and I'm like, dude, it's 17-0. Then I hit a triple.
Wow. Very nice. Very
That was
nice.
nice.
Did they have to pull the tee out for you guys? Because for the kids, like if they couldn't get it in like 3 pitches, they'd put the tee out and put the ball on it. They have to do that for you guys?
We don't drink while we play.
Oh, you should. It's really good. They're If the girls can't hit it, they bring out the little tea set and they're like,
There was
play again.
There was plenty of tea being served.
I bet. Well,
That is just
with the gay leagues, I imagine there are.
No, we got a really good team. We just there's 16 people on our team and only 10 showed up. So we were just doing the best we could, and they could hit really well, which we didn't for the first couple of innings. Except me.
So did you pull it out and win in the end?
No, it was 24-6.
Oh my! All right.
It was like a football game.
Wow.
I mean, at one point they stopped taking extra bases, and then they just stopped swinging all the way. They just kind of like we're just like whatever. We're gonna win this game. Let's just end it. But we were still having fun. You can
Your
make
score is like a math problem on my SATs. If one team scored 24 and one scored 6, what is the percentage that they won by? 75 more hits than you.
a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. But like I said,
it's
it was
for
a
fun.
beautiful day out. This weekend had beautiful weather, so
By the time we were playing, it was hot. If you're standing in the sun, it was hot.
yeah.
Like if you go to the parks and you're like in the shade and you're walking around the park, you're like, oh, this is really beautiful outside. And then you step into the sun for an hour and like.
Well, it was beautiful for me.
Do you know that bleacher coaching is like the worst?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to see like apologize to anyone who this describes, but you know what? If it's you, it's you. Own it. Go to like a high school baseball game and sit in the bleachers and listen to what the parents say about each other and the other players on the team. Now this may have changed since I had to go, but man alive, like people start fighting like crazy. Anyway, sports ball.
Fun
Am I
time.
right?
Yeah. Carrying on with
Sports ball.
reliving
Youth.
reliving our high school days this past weekend. We went to the Pride Prom.
We did. It was you know what's funny about the Pride Prom? I will tell you this. We read little commercials for the Pride Prom over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And in the advertisement it says, wear bright colors, be your brightest self.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That was the theme.
And none of that sunk into my brain at all. So I was getting my stuff together because I was in Orlando on Friday to go to this. But on Thursday night, I gathered my stuff from St. Pete. And I'm like, what am I going to wear? I was like, you know what I wear? I wear black slacks, a black short sleeve button up, a black tie, and a black coat. And then you informed me that it was neon themed and that I should put some color to it. And so we had to go to the store.
Someone thought it being at the Orlando Science Center meant that it took place in deep, dark space.
I just couldn't show. I would have been fine showing up in all black, but I didn't. When it said wear bright colors and be your brightest self, I didn't want people to think that I needed, therapy because I was in all black and like, this is my brightest self, y'all. It's a dark hole, a big abyss of nothing.
Not showing up and not wearing bright colors, you're wearing maybe something a little more subdued is, I think, acceptable. But when you show up in all black, it's almost like you intentionally ignored the thing.
Right. Or that I'm just like
you're in protest of brightness.
Like I'm angry about it or something. And I'm like, that's not me. So I went and bought a thing. But apparently, I guess, a lot of people that were going to that were struggling last minute like me because we went to a store at the deserted mall. I mean, I'm sorry. I won't say the name of it. It is so deserted. I went to another mall this weekend, and it was not deserted. It was packed, and people were having fun. This
Remind
mall,
me, you ever see
scary.
Dawn of the Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. I was waiting for the zombies to come out.
Or what's that one? There's another one that's a zombie thing where they end up in a mall.
Oh, The Last of Us?
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all looks like that. No, the guy that was in, I watched it be Dawn of the Dead. I don't think that it is because I don't think I've seen Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
But it was
Are
like.
you going to say the guy with in Modern Family?
No, the guy that was in Medium with Arquette, Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette.
He played her husband, and he was in this
I didn't watch it. I know Patricia Arquette did
Rage.
a show called Medium.
Maybe it was Rage? No.
But I don't know.
Rage was the disease. What was Rage? 28 Days?
Oh, 28 Days Later?
I don't think it was that one. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that took place in a mall.
Yeah.
Maybe 28 weeks later?
Now I'm going to have to go
place
find it
at.
because it was a pretty good one as far as zombies goes. But I think they were fast zombies, not slow zombies.
28. Well, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and then 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, all fast zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which are terrifying. One of the
fast
things
zombie.
I liked about
World War Z
zombie movies is I felt like I had a fighting chance. Now these running zombies just kill me. Actually, World War Z I like because they bypass people who have chronic diseases. I was like, yeah, don't bite me. You're gonna get the HIV.
You watched The Walking Dead, but you didn't watch it all the way through.
I watched up until I feel like I watched until Head Cop left.
Yeah. Rick Grimes. So it's funny how like you watch the beginning of it, and if they see like a zombie or 3 or 4, then they all panic. And now, in like the later ones, especially in the ones who lived,
Yeah.
they could just walk in and out of like 20 zombies and not even kill them, just keep walking around them. And
Well, you develop skills when you live in that kind of world.
I guess so. That's funny. So, what
But
did
yes,
you think?
Pride
What did you think
Prom.
of Pride Prom?
I really liked it. I love the Orlando Science Center. I am a total geek with dinosaur bones, so I like that they had it in the dinosaur
Well, there were
room.
definitely some dinosaurs there.
Yes, there. But I thought it was great. It's funny how similar it was to my first prom. Because when I went to my high school prom, I went with a group of friends that consisted of my brother and his friends, basically.
Oh my God, it was a reenactment.
Yeah, they all had dates. I did not. And during the entire prom, my brother's girlfriend, or my brother's date, kept saying, "Come dance with me. Come dance with me." Pride Prom. I went without a date. I brought my brother and his girlfriend, and his girlfriend kept saying, "Come on, get on the dance floor." And I was like, this is all very reminiscent of my first prom. And if I spent the rest of the evening next to the dessert table, it would have been exactly like my first prom.
You know what's funny about that? Dance, have fun, dance. That's like triggering for me in a way. Like, yeah, I just am not. See, I don't dance.
Yeah.
I like to sit on a couch. No, so I just remember I went to Vegas to the NGLCC National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce annual meeting one year. Was in Vegas, and I went to that, and I was hanging out with like the Pride Chamber, and everybody's having a good time. And I don't drink either. And this was a few years back, so it wasn't like. I mean, I wasn't many years into it. I was just like maybe 1 or 2 years into not drinking, and. So I'm there with all these people, and they all are just finding out that I don't drink because I'm standing on a dance floor in Vegas with a thing with a
Sunny D bottle,
like club soda, my Capri Sun pouch, and I'm just sipping it on that plastic straw. It took forever to get it in the pouch. No, and I'm just sitting there, and the way it was, it's just kind of wherever you were standing, there were tables, and the people were dancing around you, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes up to me and grabs my hand, and is like, "Come on, dance!" And they're like shaking my hands around, like, "Come on, be fun, dance!" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm not fun for you. Like, get out my face." That and like people like, because it's like she was overtly drunk.
Yeah.
And was like forcing me to try to dance, and it's not my thing.
Yeah.
So for whatever, like now when people are like, "Dance, have fun," I'm like, what if dancing isn't fun for me?
Yeah. Did she ask you to dance?
You're
My brother's girlfriend?
No.
Oh. Because the way you were like, that triggered me. I was
no,
like,
no.
oh.
I'm just saying. No, I said when people say that, it triggers me. She didn't.
I was
trigger
thinking
me.
this whole time, did she ask you to dance? She's just running around. Everybody dance!
And then she was like, "Just come on, make out with me. Nobody cares."
Fun times.
People get pregnant
I
at
like
prom.
to dance,
Let's try.
But the problem is, and I had fun there. The problem is with events like that is I get into work mode. Like I've got to make sure I post this up, and then I've got to make sure I hit key people to talk to so they know that I'm there. If it's like a function we're just going and having fun, and it's not like tied to work, I'm a little more loose. But those are work folk. They don't need to see me dance.
Oh.
My dancing is reserved for late into the evening at Equality Florida galas when me and Chris have had one too many drinks.
I have photos of you dancing. Do you follow Dylan on the socials?
I'm sure I do.
He posted a yeah. What a weird question to ask somebody. No, Rick, but thanks for calling me out.
No, I'm pretty sure I do. I mean, I'm assuming I do because I see his posts on Facebook. I'm not at any other shows.
He posted to his story. This is a present he got me for our anniversary. Our anniversary is like in a week and a half, and he bought it like 3 weeks ago, but he couldn't keep a secret, and he couldn't hold it, so he had to tell me about it. But then I was flipping through it, and it's insanely gorgeous. It is this photo album of our wedding.
Yeah.
And the pages are they're like a quarter of an inch thick, like just real nice paper. And it's a thick book. It's got to be like 3 inches thick. And you just flip through it, and it's all kinds of pictures. But there's two or three pictures of Chris with his ass in the crotch of different people, like Dylan's mom,
Yeah.
my mom,
There we go.
Jen,
Yeah.
and then there's some pictures of you post.
Was the headband on the head yet?
The tie had been relocated.
Yeah, all right.
It was no longer around the neck.
That was the time. That was when you should have been on the dance floor.
Even then, I danced. I think I danced to the dance that we did, and I
Yeah.
danced with the one with my mom, and then maybe one other song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, weddings, like your wedding, I don't see that as a work event, so I could cut loose. I would have, if I was there to take photos for Watermark, I probably would a little more conservative. But when you brought the dancer out who had his ass hanging out in front of your nieces and nephews, I was like, no, this is a party. We're allowed to cut loose here.
Yeah, I'll explain that when I was a kid and I used to dream about getting married, I knew it would never happen, right? Because this was even in high school. I wanted this because I was really into theater and musical theater, and I had all these friends that were really talented. And I thought when I get married, I want it to be on a stage, and I want it to be a show.
Yeah.
And it's I never thought it would really happen. And then when I had the opportunity to, I said, we're doing a cabaret show at the reception. And I had some people come and sing. But one of the things we wanted to do, because it was kind of new-ish to the scene, is because we wanted to be this homage to all things queer. And since, like male burlesque troops were popping up and doing things, we had hired a male burlesque dancer.
A very beautiful male burlesque dancer.
Beautiful. And very, very, let's say, he took a lot off. And I didn't expect it to go that much. And when he bent over and touched his toes at one point, I was like, oh, I can see his teeth.
Oh, wow.
But the greatest thing, too, and there are photos of these children that were at the wedding that they are like... It's hilarious. Their eyes are all bugged out. It is very funny. But I did warn all the parents. I said, I'm not going to tell you can't bring your kids. I'm just telling you that there's going to be a show.
Yeah, there'll be a
and that
burlesque
it's not
show
going to be necessarily kid friendly.
Yeah.
So don't call me a groomer.
I have no interest in getting married, but if I do, I have always wanted the ceremony to be like a show. And I would have the wedding party. One of the requirements to be in the wedding party is you have to partake in skits. And the ceremony will be skits of how me and my future husband met, but you have to do musical numbers and I will write the skits for you. So the entire wedding party has to act out these skits in front of everybody. That's my wedding.
The wedding party does?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I know we're not close enough for me to be in the wedding party. Joey goes to enough musical theater. He can do it.
Yeah, Joey. My whole family is very entertaining, I'll say, particularly if we've all had a few drinks in us. So maybe we'll open the bar prior to or before the ceremony. Everyone get nice and lit, and then we'll do the show. Be a good time. But that's many, many, many months away.
This was the first Pride prom that I had been to. Had you been before?
I think this is the first one of Come Out with Prides that I've been to. I feel like I've been to a prom, quote unquote, a prom style event several times, but I don't think they were Come Out with Pride events. I think there was one when I lived in Tampa Bay. I feel like I went to something. Maybe I'm thinking of Equality Florida galas and they just seem like proms. But I feel like I've been to a couple of proms.
Prom where the vice principal gets up and gives a speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never been, and I guess I had an impression of what it was probably like.
Yeah.
This kind of... I went to my proms in high school, and I just went with my friends. I wasn't seeing anybody, but it didn't bother me. Well, it bothered me when I didn't go, that's for sure. When I didn't go to homecoming, after I come out to my mom, I just sat in my room and listened to Air Supply all night, very loudly.
Oh.
I was all out of love.
Oh, that's sad.
And I just wanted to be lost in love.
Did you not go after you came out because you were told you couldn't, or?
My mom said, "You will take a boy, or you will take no one." No, I just didn't go.
Didn't want to go.
It was homecoming. I don't.
Yeah.
I went to one of them. Maybe it was prom, and I went to homecoming instead. But I took these two girls that I was friends with, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
So it was never something that I was like, "Oh, the prom I missed. Let me go with." I just feel like prom's for the high schoolers, and it's not something I'm going to go to. I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
It was really great. It was crowded. There was a good crowd of people there.
There's a lot of people there.
And it was fun. Like somebody that we ran into that we hugged said, well, I didn't get to wear what I wanted to my prom, so I get to wear what I want to this one. And it was a really cool suit, and it was kind of cool. And I was like, that's the whole point, isn't it? Like right there was the perfect commercial.
Yeah. I didn't get to wear a bright neon orange T-shirt to my first prom, but I got to wear one to my second.
I do want to point out, though, that the person that I'm talking about was wearing all black. And as I think about it...
Yes, but it had shiny, dangly black things on it. So if it hit the light just right,
That's true.
he was living his brightest self.
Had a little shimmer to it.
Yeah. As did Tatiana, the executive director. She also had some... There was a lot of
She was cool.
shiny... Yeah.
Hers was like fringy and whatever. I mean,
It was green.
Was it
Right?
green?
Was it?
I don't know.
Because they kept saying she looked like... Or she said her partner said she looked like a Christmas tree.
Because it had Christmas tree lights. But also, it like if you put that
I don't remember
tinsel
what
stuff on
green
it,
her
and
color
it's kind
was.
of got those little...
Yeah, the little dangly tinsel things.
Yeah, it had that kind of a feel to it. So it did kind of have like an artificial tree, how sometimes they can look.
Yeah.
So it kind of had that little feel to it.
It was cute.
But it was really cute. I liked it a lot. It was really pretty. And some people were like decked out.
Yeah.
And some people were wearing the same dress.
My brother's girlfriend walks in and meets eyes with Julie, who is an intersex advocate here in Central Florida, wearing the exact same dress. So I went on Julie's Facebook this morning because I was like, oh, I want to see. She posted a picture. And she posted a picture with another person there in the same dress, but in a different color. And I was like, you'll need to shop on more than Temu.
Is that where they got that?
I'm pretty sure I think that's where my brother's girlfriend said she got her dress, on Temu.
I wouldn't trust buying a size on that. I would have to buy like a 5X and then still squeeze into it.
Yeah, I am surprised the amount of people in the last 4 to 5 days who I have talked to who order a bunch of shit off of Temu. Like they get 10, 11 packages a week from Temu.
It
And I was
stops
like,
being discounted when you buy that much stuff.
Well, I mean, everything. I don't think any of them buy anything over $10.
Well, that's all I'm saying though. But you get 7 to 10 packages in a week, and that's $70 to $100 a week. That just adds up for stuff that you're probably just buying because it's on sale.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through the list of the things they bought. I will say my brother buys a shit ton on Temu, and everything he buys has been exciting, and we use it in the house. So,
well, I mean,
including the dress.
I will not. I just can't. Temu they did me wrong right off the bat.
Did they?
They had a cool pair of shoes. They were like $6 for this cool pair of shoes, and I was like, let's do it. Signed up for it. Put the app up. And they're like, oh, in order to get the $6 shoes, you have to buy 5 things. Now, all those 5 things were like $6, but all of a sudden, those shoes were like $35, $40 instead of $6, and now I get nothing but 6 text messages a day for them. Eventually, I'll just say stop, but it's okay. It's okay, and it's
I was
it's
just, can't you
Temu,
just
isn't
text
it?
them stop?
Didn't we realize at the Super Bowl that it's Temu, not Temu?
Much like GIF and GIF, I'll say it however I goddamn well please.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was a good event. I want to go next year, for sure. Some people were really cool looking. They had like neon bow ties.
Yeah,
Did you see those?
yeah.
Those are really cute.
Yeah. Some people went all out. I dug some stuff out of the back of my closet. I was like, I do not have the funds to buy a all new bright and shiny neon suit for Pride. Maybe next year.
Yeah, get a tux.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the theme is. If the theme is come as your relaxed self, probably not a tux. I'll probably just throw my sweats on. Ooh, I'm going to talk to Tatiana. I want a PJ party. Prom. Everybody come in your PJs.
Did you have that thing at your school, like after graduation, where you went into some building and stayed overnight?
We've done I've done a couple of those in the school, like school lockdowns. Yeah, I've done a couple of those in school. Not in high school. It was like elementary and middle school.
Now this was it was graduation night, and it was after you graduated, and then you go have dinner with your family, and then you go to this place. It wasn't I don't remember where it was, but it was something. It'd be something like the Winter Park Civic Center or something like that, and you just kind of go in there. And
the
then have
the Winter
activities
Park Civic Center was a little far from my high school, so probably wouldn't have gone there. I didn't graduate from here. That would have been a drive.
Somewhere like the Winter Park Civic Center, and they just had activities and things set up, and we were there all
Oh
night.
no!
And then we went right from there to Disney. And do you know what that day was? Gay Day.
Ah.
I went to Gay Day at Disney, when it started, 91.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went 91, 92, 93 with my brothers, not knowing what the day was, but it was just always the Saturday after graduation.
Once I can believe you didn't know the day. 3 times you knew the day. You knew.
I didn't complain.
You're like, I had no idea. Why did you tell us to all wear red shirts, Rick? Hey, I just wanted us all to match.
Why do I have this red shirt that says I'm out, and in little letters says of school?
Oh. But it was a good time. Definitely want to go back next
That
year.
was a good time.
Yeah.
So I know that while we were there, we had a big debate as to whether I was going to stay in Orlando or drive back to St. Pete afterward.
Yes.
I opted because I had to go home and eat.
Did you not get filled up on all the cheese? We ate a shit ton of cheese.
I did eat a lot of cheese, but I just needed something else.
Yeah.
There was cheese.
Ham?
There wasn't ham.
No. Did you stop off and get ham to go with your cheese?
And toast.
And toast.
So it was like a grilled cheese. It was a deconstructed grilled cheese.
Oh, that sounds good.
No, construct it.
You build it inside.
I don't understand deconstructed food. Let me rephrase that before somebody explains it to me. I understand deconstructed food. I don't understand why people like it. See, what you do is you
when
take
you
the
want to
pieces.
eat dinner, but you're a hipster.
Like, yes, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I ended up staying, and then I thought, well, because I need to go to IKEA and get furniture for the St. Pete house. I was like, I'll just stay, and I'll go look here and see if I like anything. Ended up buying a bunch of crap that it was too big for my car. And so, you ever do that? You go to IKEA and you buy something so that it has to go all the way up onto the dashboard, and then it sits on the headrest, and your head's pushed to the side like this. And so I'm driving like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Jen, why don't we just drive to St. Pete? We'll surprise Dylan. He's got his art walk. We'll go surprise him, and we'll put the furniture together. And she's like, oh, yeah, let's do it. So that's what we did. And it was middle of the day, so it was 2.5 hours.
How's your neck feel?
Feels good. Feels right. Jen had to dig her elbows into my shoulders last night, so that was
What'd
nice.
you buy?
I bought, you ever see the cubes, like the 4-cube thing?
Mm-hmm.
That now they have all these things that make it cool. Like you can get little drawers that go into the cube and doors of all kinds of stuff. Like there's glass doors with shelves in the middle and all. So I bought that with some little fun accoutrement.
Very nice. I need to make my way over to IKEA. I'm redoing the Lego room, and I need a new shelving unit to do the Legos on because Chris he wants to take DJ lessons. So he bought equipment stuff. He's been taking DJ classes. So we're going to turn the Lego room into, it's a little more than that.
I'm just kidding.
For those who are listening, Rick just condescendingly pushed a button. So all you DJs listening, send your emails to whynot at watermarkonline.com.
No, it's more than that.
So we're going to turn the Lego
You have
room
to
into
choose the
half
song.
Lego room, half a music room. And I got a record player with a bunch of records. So we're going to make it like a cool music shindig.
Oh, that's cool.
You won't want to come over because they'll probably be dancing in there. But
well, I don't mind being at places you have to dance. Just don't yell at me to dance.
well, we'll be drinking and dancing. Don't want to overwhelm you.
Well, those are two things that I'm not going to do. So this is how I know I'm not in the wedding party.
So anyway, I need to go to IKEA because I want to take a look at some new shelves.
I also got a wardrobe while we were there. Not like clothing for myself.
Sure.
Isn't that what they called the
I was
Lion,
gonna
the
say-
Witch, and the wardrobe?
Yeah, a wardrobe you put clothes in.
Yeah. And so we got one of those for the spare room because it's the spare room's a bigger room now. And then we're like, oh, we can put a thing here for people to put stuff in. That's what caused me to drive like this the whole time. So it's nice.
Gotcha.
And by the way, listen, I've had a lot of friends who were DJs. I understand it's complicated. And I understand that, like, I had one friend who was like, he was so into it. And he's like, we were at a party one time, completely not dancing and only drinking orange juice. And he said, he's like, we're going to make a song right now. No, just kidding.
Oh.
No, we were wasting. Totally wasted.
I didn't know who you were talking about.
It was probably like 5 a.m. at this point too. So, so he said that he's like, let's make a song. So he pulls out this calculator and he starts doing all stuff and he gets all of his equipment together and then he tells somebody to say something into a microphone and then just creates this whole dance song right when we were right there. It was really cool.
Yeah.
See. So I know that like, not all DJs do that, but I understand. Like there's one guy that I know, he was super talented where he would like take, you're getting ready to play another song and so this song A is playing and like 30 seconds into song A, he starts slipping little parts of song B into there so that you get this like, oh my God, that song's coming next. I get it. It's good. I tease Dylan all the time too because he's a photographer and I say, well, I mean, you went to school for that? It's like, don't you just point and click? And he gets so mad.
Those who can't do are snarky too. Those who do.
Yeah, those who can't do buy a newspaper.
I forget how we got started on this, but yeah. So, we're redoing the Lego room, IKEA. Yeah. So I need to go to IKEA. I've never bought any furniture from IKEA. The only time I've ever purchased anything from IKEA is actually when I've gone with you and you're buying stuff, and I'll buy like random like little kitchen gadgets here or there.
God, I love their kitchen
but
gadgets.
I have never purchased any furniture. So when I get back from my vacation, I'm gonna take a day and just go rummage around IKEA and buy a bunch of shelves.
99% of all furniture in my house is IKEA.
Nice.
Well, because it started when I lived in New York, and you got small places. You need all these cool things to store things, stuff like that. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Most of my furniture I buy Amazon or just order online or whatever. But somebody had pointed out to me that the shelves at IKEA are designed with purpose for Lego because they're both companies from the same country. Like IKEA and Lego made in the same place, and that a lot of the IKEA shelves are designed with Lego base plates in mind. Because like the shelves on Amazon and at Walmart, not designed for the base plates, and the base plates always hang over a little. Not IKEA shelves.
That reminds me when Jen wanted to eat before we went to IKEA, and I was like, no, we're going to IKEA first. And I was like, you can have, what did I say? You can have lutefisk. You can have lutefisk and a meatball. We're going to IKEA.
I don't think I've ever had the meatballs there, but I hear they're delicious.
The meatballs are delicious there, and they don't sell lutefisk. It's just a joke.
Well, now I'm disappointed.
Do you know what lutefisk is?
I'm assuming fish.
It's codfish soaked in lye for about a week. It's best with lots of butter. That's a quote from Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh, I don't know her.
That's funny because
I've seen that
all
movie
of the
once.
sofas at IKEA were made to sit and watch Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh. I have seen that movie once, and
They
it
have
was
the
on
same
in your
accents.
backyard, and I don't think I 100% was paying attention to it.
My favorite part about that, because Watermark needed a big screen one time for an event in Tampa Bay, so we bought a screen and a projector, and we don't use it for anything else, so I just take it to my house and put it up and watch movies outside on this big screen. So my favorite part of this is that my mom and Jen's mom were over watching it too, and I think Jen's mom got up to use the restroom. When she came back, she's like, "What did I miss?" And my mom's explanation of what she missed was priceless, because it was all like, oh, you know that guy that was in that CBS show where the girl did this? Well, he was in there, and then just completely like no actual names or no actual actions. It was always just something as it related to something else, and it cracked me up. It made me I pushed really hard for them to do a YouTube channel where they reviewed movies. And they wouldn't do it. But I'm like, y'all would be famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like us famous. But
Like
famous.
more famous?
But famous enough. Yeah. Not like us
Like
famous.
actual
like
famous?
real famous. Yeah, she was like, she's like, I can do a podcast, right? You just talking to a microphone, right? That's all.
Yeah, basically.
You certainly don't have to research. Well, maybe some. Speaking of research,
Yeah,
you want to talk about our stories?
let's talk about them. What? Oh, I shaved my head. On to George and Mary. Yeah, I shaved my head.
For those watching,
For those watching. For those who aren't watching, you'd have never known until Caitlin started pointing to the top of her head. And she's like, tell them you shaved your head. Let the viewers know.
Jeremy, tell the listeners what you did to your head.
Yes, I had a Britney moment and shaved my head. But it'll grow back. It's already started to grow back. It's already sprouting seedlings. So,
Were you two dissed by JT and then shaved your head?
He forced me to have an abortion, and I stopped talking to him for a few years, and then I did a knife dance and cut my hair. I think we're caught up. Me and Brittany almost right neck and neck with each other.
You tell him your body, your choice.
Indeed. Speaking of bodies and my choice, Mary and George.
Nice segue.
Thank you. So we watched the second episode of Mary and George. For those who didn't watch or listen last week,
Where were you?
Yeah, it's a Starz miniseries that's going on with Julianne Moore and my future husband. Get your wedding party ready because we're going to be doing a show, Nick. Nicholas Galazine. And it's about...
So when you marry him,
Yeah.
and the wedding party has to reenact things like how you met,
Mm-hmm.
do they get to reenact any of that on your fiance?
No, only I do.
Well, then I stand by my decision to not be in your wedding party.
And it will be our wedding party will be, or our wedding stories will be as graphic as the Mary and George show.
Oh my
So stay tuned.
I will not even go to that wedding.
So yeah, we open episode 2. It's called The Hunt. It opens in 1615, way back.
Just because you said the word hunt,
Yeah.
I just want to say this. There is a word that rhymes with hunt that instead of having an H in the front of it, has a C in the front of it.
Of course, yes.
And Mary says it all the time.
Yeah.
And I always want to quote her, and I always feel like I can't. I feel bad because I know certain people listen to the show and they probably don't want to hear me say that word, and I know that's offensive to some people, that word. But how it just flows from the British tongue makes me laugh so hard.
That in British slang is like us saying damn and hell. It's like nothing to them. To an American set of ears, particularly female ears, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Don't say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she says it all the time.
Yeah, and then the
All
British
the
throw the
time.
word bloody in front of it, which just adds new meaning to it. It makes me laugh, and I don't know. I have a very mature sense of humor, so the word makes me giggle. See, a naked George makes you giggle, and the C word makes me
He's
giggle.
so pretty.
I will always laugh at that first at the big episode 1.
Yeah.
When she's getting kicked out of the room and she's like, "I'm sorry, he's just so pretty."
That's me.
It's very
I wrote
true.
that line. I wrote it and sent it to them. I said, please use this.
Although I feel like I don't think they try to make him look unattractive because the whole show's about him being beautiful. But does this make sense? Can you look at a person and tell whether they live in the cold or in a warm climate? Not just by whether they're tan or not, but I just feel like people that live in the cold are a little more, their eyes are a little more sunken in. There's a little more darkness around them, and anyway, that's what I see him now, and I'm like, oh, he lives in the cold. He's still beautiful. I'm just saying.
It's gorgeous. He's gorgeous.
Okay.
Anyway,
sorry
yes.
I interrupted.
So the show opens in a brothel. Mary is walking in, and she's meeting with Sir David, who we met at the end of last episode, and they're conspiring to get rid of the Earl of Somerset is his name. And he's the boyfriend of King James. So nobody likes him, mostly because he's Irish.
No, he's Scottish.
Scottish, and they don't like the Scots. They're like, we want everybody to be English, even though the king's Scottish. But that
Isn't Fat Bastard Scottish?
Who?
Fat Bastard.
Fat Bastard is Mike Myers.
Well,
I think he is Scottish. Yeah,
because he's got a Scottish. Why doesn't the sodomite of Somerset have a Scottish accent?
I don't know. That's a very good. You know what? Back in 1615, I think accents were different
They just all blend
than in Austin Powers.
I mean, I guess trying to explain that would be like asking why everybody in Les Mis has a British accent when it
True,
takes
when
place
they're all
in France.
French. I never thought about that. Interesting. So they arrange for George to go roadside. It's a very, I don't know if this was like a regular occurrence, but it seems weird. But like these little groups gather roadside as the king's going by to like wave him down and be like, "Hey, king."
Well, the whole scene is hilarious to me because it's like they don't really. So when they're on the main roads, right? I think like it's when the Pope comes and he's driving on and everybody's outside waving. And but this is like, oh, there'll be nobody else there, and I'll just go there. And I get this image of like, just kind of like kicking the leg out and like.
Oh, it happened one night style, pulling up the
like,
skirt.
Oh, look at me! And then the king's gonna stop the carriage and say, "Wait, there's a hot guy on the side of the road." But that's the other movie.
That's a valid plan. I'd do it.
And so it's funny because it was packed because everybody does this, and there were like 30 guys there waiting.
But they're all old and
what do
gross.
they call them?
Whores. That's what they called them.
No, there was like some younger guys there. They were all like they called them something Pete's.
I don't remember.
Anyway, made me laugh. But the guy that was coming on to George,
yes, the old man.
Love him.
He's like, you're not going to get near the king, but you can get near me,
right? But he asked him. He said, "Are you a hammer or an anvil? A shovel or a bucket?"
Oh, it just sounds gross.
Oh, do I have to be a whole bucket?
Oh.
What are you going to do to me?
So the king comes by and unfortunately does not notice George. And George gets...
George is like, I'm over here.
He's like, hey, king, hey. Falls in the mud. Old bucket and shovel guy laughs at him. So he goes back to the house and he's like, damn it, mother.
battle, old man.
I failed again. And she's like, come hunting with me, son. Which is just weird. Out of the blue, she's like, oh, welcome back. Come hunt with me now.
It was weird the way she did it, too. She didn't just say to him, come hunting. She turned around away from him to everybody else and said, I've missed you, George. Come hunting with me. And then they turn around and go hunting. You're like, what is going on?
It's like, what? She really wants to go hunting, but you find out that she doesn't really want to go hunting, that John, his older brother, who has some issues.
Who you find out this last time we talked about like what was going on there, but you find out this time that he was born like the oxygen got cut off to his brain because the
cord got wrapped around his neck,
and that's why he's a little.
I like turtles.
Yeah.
So. So they go hunting, but you find out that John actually
that poor kid.
The reason they went out is because John killed a dog. He strangled a dog, and it belonged to, I guess, one of the maidens there who works for the family.
Yeah.
So she has.
You're still laughing at the turtles. I can't help it.
So Mary went hunting with George because she wants him to shoot the dog in the head and take the blame for the dog dying. And, of course, George, the obedient second son that he is, shoots the dog in the head and then brings it to the lady whose pet it was and said, I'm sorry, I shot your dog. He came out of nowhere. And she's like,
He's a very convincing liar, too.
Yeah. She's like, it's interesting that there's no blood coming out of the bullet wound. It's as if he was dead before you shot him. And he's like, no, it was me. And she's like, you're a terrible liar. And he's like, I'm sorry.
I like it that she's like, I'm going to tell your story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to rat you out, but you're lying.
Yeah. So
what did he learn in France? He's not showing I know what he learned.
No.
He does by the end of this episode show what he learned.
He shows
in
what he
France.
learned.
But like I got the sense that like he was going to France because he was going to learn to be like his mother, like this.
Well, he was going to learn to be like an aristocrat, to be fancy.
All right.
Be a fancy boy, if you know what I mean.
Well, he did get to break out those dance skills, but we'll get into that.
So Mary is preparing or trying to wed off John, and so she invites this family. What are their names? They are. I wrote their names down here. The Koch family. Interesting.
Not COCH.
No, COKE. Like Coca-Cola.
Oh.
300 years
That would
ago.
make more sense.
Oh.
You're over there going Coca-Cola, and I'm over here like...
I feel like it's a good litmus test. You say it's the Koch family, and then you see how they respond. What kind of Coke? So the Koch family, they have a daughter. So they invite them over. They want to hook her and John up and to get John a wife there. So the family comes, and they all seem like they're having a good time until Mother Koch stands up and basically reads them all for filth, as the drag queens say. She's like, I know exactly what you're doing, and you're all trash. Your son's a whore. Your son's a pimp. You're a dumb bitch. I don't like you. There's something wrong with that kid. And his response is, I like peacocks. And she's like, see? And tells her daughter, get up, we're leaving.
She goes,
hilarious.
Follow me, girl. And then she gets up and walks out, and the daughter hasn't stood up, and she goes, now.
Yeah.
Not even turn around.
Before that, when she's reading, she gets to George and calls out, you little sodomite here.
Yeah.
Loved it. She was fantastic.
She was great.
She knew who Mary was and what she was trying to do, and she's like, not to my daughter.
Yeah, and she's super rich, right?
Yeah.
So that's why Mary wanted them to marry, because then she'd get this huge dowry, and this lady is independently wealthy from her first husband who passed away, so she rules the second husband.
Yeah. Her husband's sitting there. After she reads them and leaves out, he goes, I'm sorry.
It reminds me of what things must have been like in that interview Ryan recently did.
Oh.
Where he got yelled at, and then she goes away, and the person left sitting at the table is like, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry for what happened. Thank you for the roast tonight. It was fantastic. I'm going to try to get her back. So they leave, and everybody clears the table. It's just John and the help. And John looks at the lady who had the dog earlier, and he apologizes for killing her dog. And she's like, shut up.
It's like a Lenny moment, right? Like,
yeah.
Of Mice and Men. He was like, we were just playing, and then...
I was just playing with the dog, and he just stopped moving.
I was playing Choke the Dog.
And he just wouldn't move. I don't know what happened. So after all that, Mary takes George back to the brothel, where they meet with Sir David. And Mary's like, I need a private meeting with the Queen. And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, come on. And he's like, okay. So then they arrange a meeting with the Queen. And they all decide they're going to conspire because the Queen doesn't like Somerset. David doesn't like Somerset. Mary just wants George to be close to the king. So they all decide to conspire against Somerset and get George in front of King James. And they're all like, once he's in front of King James, how do we get him to see how awesome George is? I know. His dance moves. We're going to have him dance in front of him because those are some sweet moves.
The manly dance he learned in the first.
So they arrange for a little event the king's having, and George comes out, and he starts the little skip, and he's raising the knees and throwing the elbows up and having a good time. And it's tickling the king right where they want the king to be tickled. So the Queen arranges to get George alone with the king. Without Somerset there. And this all moves very fast. I feel like in real time, this probably would have been a longer process, but it's like dance, get along with the king, he knights George, and then George, I think, was washing the royal penis? Is that what he was doing with the bathtub?
Well, he was washing the king.
Yeah, down there.
And the bishop.
And it was just down in the water, just scrubbing around. And Somerset comes in and is like, not my king. And he throws George out. And It's all a very weird, felt very fast scene.
It did seem fast when he's like, hey, here's this pretty boy, and he's like, and then she hands him a sword, and he goes, oh, let's knight him now. Like,
yeah.
No questions asked.
And then it's right to the bath.
But maybe that's the way it was, because
Maybe
he
it
was
was.
just going to, there's only...
Yeah, it
only one
reminded
thing
me
he's
like
gonna
when
do
you
with
watch
him.
a movie, you don't have a lot of time, so you do like a montage. But instead of doing it in separate scenes, they're like, we'll all do it right from behind the curtain to the hallway to the bathroom into the bedroom. And so then we cut back to while this is all going on, Mary's like, I have things that I can do while you all are attending to this. And she goes back to the brothel and hooks up with the prostitute.
She actually goes to her... Does she go to the brothel or to her place?
Well, her home. I
Yeah.
assume her home is near the brothel.
Yeah, I would think so.
She doesn't look like the type of lady who likes to walk very long to work.
I also liked her a lot.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from the beginning when she was talking to Mary, and she's like, something's wrong with you and you need to relax a little, and I know a lady that can do that
Yeah.
for you.
Me. So she goes in and she's like, by the way, I'm the dominant one. You're going to do what I say. And she's like, oh, yes, okay. And then she starts to, what George was doing to the king in the bathtub, that's what she starts to do to Mary. So they have a little lady
They
time.
were tickling the ivories.
Yeah.
Isn't that they were just but they were like they were laying sideways on the bed facing each other,
Yeah.
like a foot apart from each other.
Yeah.
There was no contact other than what was happening below the screen.
I think there was a hand. Like, I'm pretty sure she put her hand, because you see her kind of lean.
For those that are just listening and not watching, Jeremy is constantly going like this, and it's cracking
moving
me
my
up.
hand in a leaning motion,
just
and
a-
then Mary has this look on her face where she's like, oh no, that kind of thing.
I think she was saying, "Oh yes."
Yeah, she was saying no, meaning yes. So then we cut back. It's the next morning, and Somerset comes into what I think is the king's boy nest. I don't know what all the king's men, his married gentlemen, are all just laying in bed and around a couch all together. And Somerset kicks them all up and then is like, hey, we got the hunt to go to, so get ready. And then basically threatens George, and he's like, you're getting too close to him, and tells him to be careful during the hunt. So we cut back to Mary, and she's visiting her bookkeeper. And her bookkeeper is a little roughed up. He's been assaulted.
He got beat.
Yeah. Shows his finger, which looks like somebody broke it, and then it swelled. Looked gross.
Look gross.
Because he's like, they came for me, and I told them nothing. And then he
then
holds up his finger, and he's like, and then they did this, and I told them everything.
Yeah, and then I wrote it all out, and I signed it and told them everything you did.
And the look on her face, she's like, you gotta fucking be kidding me. But yeah, he wrote out a confession.
Yeah, and I guess I missed this in the first episode, but that she was a maid.
Yeah, well, they didn't mention it in the first. They just
okay.
said there was a secret. This is
Yeah.
where we found out the secret.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell them the secret.
Yeah, that she was a maid, but this guy, her financier, doctored or forged documents saying that she was a lady.
Yeah, that she was a lady of privilege.
Yes. I don't know what they call it. Like
I don't know what they call that, but basically she was from a family with money and stature.
She was a well-to-do lady, and she
Yeah,
was not.
But she was not. I think that she enjoys this brothel because she may have spent some time there in her past.
Before we get into what happens next, may I
Yes.
ask this question?
You may.
Have you been to a brothel?
So then George is with... I mean, no.
I mean, does Club Orlando count?
I mean, kind of. I guess it's a little brothel-y. I don't think they have brothels today. They're called bathhouses, I think.
Okay. At these things, do they serve prunes?
I don't know if they do at brothels, but I have been to strip clubs where they have buffets and sell food or serve food.
But why prunes?
I don't know. I think maybe it was a food of the time. Back then, they didn't have refrigeration, so I think a lot of things were like dried to preserve them,
All right.
or they were like fermented and
Is
stuff
it
like
prunes?
Yeah.
It was prunes.
that. Yeah, it was prunes.
Don't prunes make you...
They cure venereal diseases, which
Oh.
and are considered an aphrodisiac. Of course, they'd be in a
Well,
brothel.
that's the perfect food to serve at a brothel.
Fantastic. Now, before we get back to the brothel, we've got the boys are going out for their hunt. And so they're eating before they go on the hunt. George is flirting with the king, and the king's all like, oh, you're taking little light jabs at me. That's fun. But Somerset doesn't like that. And he stands up and he's like, don't you be putting the king down.
Oh, because he calls him old.
Yeah. And he's like, calm down, Somerset. He's just having a good time. And so they go out for the hunt, and they're following a buck around, a nice big old deer. And Somerset and George decide to ride ahead of the crowd, and like I'm gonna get to the buck first and get my king's approval. And George is knocked from his horse. I'm gonna use air quotes here, because I don't think he was knocked from his horse. I think he threw himself from his horse.
No, he was. Oh, now here's what happened. The Somerset guy throws him off the horse. Like they're
tugging at
and
each
he
other.
throws him off the horse and rides off. Now, what he did next
is he threw himself in the tree.
Was 100%.
Because I went back and rewatched the scene. It looks like he throws himself from the horse.
Well, the whole thing is made up, right? He's creating this moment,
yeah,
so that he can be the wounded bird.
Yeah, so that the king will come and rescue him, which he does. And he goes back for him, and they ride to the deer together, King James and George, and they're talking about Somerset, and he says that Somerset is more stone than sponge because he doesn't absorb the knowledge that the king gives him, and George is like, I'm all sponge, and I don't think he meant it the way that the king meant it.
I mean, I think that it indicated that he was the bucket.
That exactly.
But it turns out he was the shovel.
Yeah, he gave the impression that he was the anvil.
And then he
was the hammer.
Yeah.
He put that hammer down. Anyway, we'll get to that soon. So they get to the deer, and Somerset's irritated that the king went back for George. He's like, oh, I didn't know we went back for fallen people. And I'm like, I think you go back for fallen people. I think that's the point.
No man left behind.
Yeah. So they've got the deer.
A terrible leader.
All kind of cornered off. And then Somerset's going to go put the killing blow into the deer. And the king's like, no, let George do it. And George stabs the deer. And then King James gets down and takes the blood of the deer and rubs it on George's face, which I can only assume is foreplay.
Yes. Isn't that how your first experience went in Italy?
Kinda. A little bit.
Oh God. Ugh.
Some of the details were different, but some of them were the exact same.
At that moment when he did that, when I looked at Jen and I was like, oh dear. You're welcome. You're welcome
not
for that.
Laugh at that, Caitlin. You do not laugh at that. Terrible.
I got a really good one for the end of the podcast, though.
Anyway, so then we go back to Mary and Sandy, who is the name of her prostitute. Sandy the prostitute. Sir David and Sir Thomas have come and to talk with Mary.
It might be worth noting that when she was hooking up with the lady, that Sir David's henchman
was watching.
Yes. He was sitting outside waiting.
Watching the house, not in the room watching them do
He wasn't a cuck or whatever you call it. It wasn't that. Is that what you call it?
It's a little.
Okay.
I mean, a cuck would imply that
He wasn't
Mary
Will
and
Smith.
and
he wasn't Will Smithing it.
and Sir Thomas were in a relationship.
Yeah.
Sir Thomas is just Sir David's lackey.
He didn't pay to watch. He just sat outside.
He just sat outside. So
Listen
they come
from the
in,
cheap seats.
and Mary offers them prunes and says, "Would you like some prunes? It's what we have." And they're like, "Oh, thank you."
And he's like, "Yes, I've had this itch for a week."
So they eat the prunes, and so they go for a walk. And Sir David tells Mary, "It's time for you to back off. We're going to take over manipulating George." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he advises her that he has the proof that she is not a noble lady, and that it's best that she just go away. So she's like, I could do that. Or you could have looked at the prunes before you ate them, and then they fall down. And she's like, ha, they were poison. And
Wait, did she say you should have looked at the prunes?
no, I'm paraphrasing because I can't tell the whole. I can't just verbatim say what she said.
No, I don't. I just.
So
I was like,
say,
was there? Did she
basically,
did she just
she
roll
said-
them in poison so that if you looked at it, you would see poison. Like there was a skull and crossbones on it.
yeah, the skull oozing
These
off
have
of
been
it,
poisoned.
and the men fall dead. And
Not before throwing up. Ugh.
oh yeah, they're throwing up, and then Mary and her Sandy prostitute friend laugh maniacally as we cut to probably the best scene of the whole show. So being thrown from your horse and slamming yourself into a tree gets you a little bruised up. So King James sends his the kingly doctor in to see George, and he tends to his wounds, and he's like, be very careful. Everybody's telling George to be careful.
Yeah, because clearly Somerset kills his competition.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm fine. So he's, resting up, and then King James comes into his tent, and they disrobe, and James is like, take me, my little George. And he bends him over.
He says something like, make me forget I'm king.
Yeah, something like that. Basically, he wants to be the bitch. You find out King James likes to be the bitch in the bedroom. So he bends him over the table, and George, goes to town on his fingers for a minute, and then, to down there, and then he fucked him. He fucked the king. He fucked him.
I mean, that's the point of the show.
Yes.
I will tell you that I was watching this with Jen, and when he lubes his entire hand,
Yeah.
in preparation for what's about to happen. See, now in Brokeback Mountain, it was like
He just spit in his hand.
this was like
This was like he watched Brokeback Mountain and said, "Hold my beer."
and I that for whatever reason that just reminded me of that scene in Mrs. Doubtfire when she's like so I we were watching this and he does that and I look at Jen and I said, this is Jeremy's favorite part of the show.
Sure was. Now, this is the second episode, and this is the second time. Now, I get he's a big star, so we may not see his bits in the front, but you get a nice ass shot, and then just before you're about to see it, it turns, and you don't get to see it. And I was like, are we going to get to see Little Nick?
I will say this, for those who have seen a lot of shows on Max, or back then it was HBO,
Yeah.
and you would watch these sort of period piece shows, and you would see a lot of vaginas.
Yeah.
And you're always, and if you're if you're into the penis, you might say to yourself, why don't they show any penises?
Mm-hmm.
This show makes up for that 100%.
But not
So
Nick's yet.
So many penises.
Yes.
When they were all in that room and he's like, get out, and they all get up and they're just
Yeah.
flopping.
Did you ever see what was it? Rome? I think it was on
I've
HBO
never
or
been.
Stars. It's a TV series called Rome about the gladiators and stuff. Lots of weighing in that one. Lots and lots. Anyway, so he does the king, and then we cut back to Sir David and Sir Thomas dead in the alleyway.
He finally gets to serve the king meat.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Because remember he dropped all the meat in the last
did.
one?
He
No, but he
did.
served it this time.
He got to do his sweet dance moves in front of the king,
Now,
or behind the king.
Did you? I expected. I had. Hair and makeup isn't like a big point of the show because
Yeah.
I think because it's the 1600s. So I just the king always looks like he needs a bath to me. So I just assume that he's gonna be nasty. So I was surprised that he didn't have a hideous body.
Yeah. I'm finding that when we talk about shows, particularly from olden times, you think a lot about the smells of these people. I don't think of their smell at all.
You're distracted
But you're
by
like,
the one who smells
I
pretty.
was watching Braveheart, and the entire time I was thinking, I bet he smells like shit.
Well, no, I'm just comparing. Like, so Game of Thrones, right?
Sure.
I'm watching Game of Thrones, and there's that first king. Yeah, he takes his clothes off, you know. And so I just expect that to be like kings to be like, you know, gluttonous, hairy messes. And so I was just surprised.
Yeah, right.
I was like, all right, good for you, George.
Yeah.
Not having to slum it too much. Although excuse me,
Yeah.
when he kissed him, I was like, like, I just felt. I said, oh my God, he just got a mouthful of beard. It was just like, like he like kissed part of his lip was in here, and the rest of it was down around all that hair. I was like, oh, I'm not into hair. So for
It's
me,
weird
it was
being
tough.
in this room because obviously you don't like hair, and you don't like anyone with facial hair. So both of you looking squeamish about him kissing a man with a beard seems weird to me. But that's fine. I get the side of the world you're coming from.
It's not that he kissed a man with a beard, because that's not a problem. It's just that his beard is so shaggy that like there was a fistful of beard hair that he was putting in his mouth.
Yeah, some people are into that.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? And I ain't here to kink shame. You like it, you go get it. But it's just not for me. That's all.
Some people like mouthful of beard. So anyway, so they do their thing. They have their fun. And then we cut back to dead David and dead Thomas. However, Thomas is not as dead as they thought he was. So he wakes up from his poison. He's like, oh, apparently I didn't eat enough prunes. So he cuts off David's finger to get his ring. I don't know why he just didn't slide the finger off or the ring off, but he decides to cut his finger off to get to the ring. And he takes out the confession that the bookkeeper had signed, and he takes them to. I wasn't sure who he was until I looked it up, but he takes it to Francis Bacon, who is a member of the king's entourage and his court, and says, "Look what I got," and that's how the episode ends.
You know, you bring up a good point. He didn't leave. I was thinking, oh, he's going to take the finger as like proof of death.
But now he just cut it off to get the ring.
But he just cut it off, and then when he laid the ring on the paperwork, he didn't have the
finger.
The finger.
Maybe eating poisoned prunes swells up your body, and he's like, oh, I can't get that ring off. He's dead anyway. I'll just cut the finger off. That's easy.
I just, I don't know anything about this storyline, like what's to come. And I'm not going to look it up on purpose, so I don't know who this person was that was reading it.
Yeah.
But I was just reading it and saying, God, I hope that you don't have a lot going on in your life, because I'm pretty sure you're going to die soon.
Yeah, he's I can't remember his exact position in the king's court, but he has a pretty high up. Let's see if I can pull it up really quick. He was the King's Attorney General and Lord Chancellor of England. So that's a pretty important job.
Sounds like it.
I mean, I'm thinking if you're committing a crime, the last person you want to have your confession is the Attorney General. So,
unless you're a former president, then it doesn't matter.
Ah, touche. Anyway, did you watch the Next Time on Mary and George?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, just to give you a heads up, I think something happens between George and Somerset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I figured that was coming.
So, so you might not
Literally.
like the bushy beard of the king, but you two twinks look to get it on next week.
I can't wait to see it. No, I think that there's going to be, I feel like the French guy's going to make a comeback, and he and George are going to hook up in a way too, aren't they?
I hope so. He was pretty too.
He's pretty.
Can't they just have all the guys come together and just hash it out in a big old orgy? Person on top of the mountain gets to be king.
That's the Game of Thrones I want to see. Game of Bones, I say.
Ah, nice. Nice. I
I'm
bet
sure
there's a porn out there with that
I
name.
was like, I'm sure there is. I'm not claiming that as my own. I'm not paying royalties. So it was good.
So yeah.
One of the
Getting intriguing.
I like to point out things that Mary says that I love, because I love that character. When she's telling him to shoot the dog and to lie about it, and she's like, but you need to be convincing. And he's like, well, you've never told a lie, have you? or he goes, what lies have you told? And she goes, None. Ever. And then she goes, see? As if to say how easy it is to lie. I thought that was funny. And then she said, when that woman went nuts and the kid was like, I'm sorry, you know, that I like peacocks. And she's like, don't waste another thought on that hateful C word. And I love that.
I'm hoping that Mary teaches her a lesson. How dare you come into someone's house and be smug and nasty like that?
I thought that lady
I
was
hope she shoves a
fantastic.
peacock in her cunt.
I gotta say, this is, it's like, I don't know if this is intentional, but like all the guy parts, giggity, are like, it's just like, it's sexual.
Yeah.
And then, but the women seem to run this show. And so I feel like it has appeal like across the board. But the women in the show, like that lady in the brothel and Mary, and then that other lady that read everybody at the table, they're what makes this show.
Yeah. Who runs 1600 England? The ladies.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I was like, oh my God, is he going to draw some insightful parallel to...
The ladies.
I don't think Kamala's running the show there.
Oh, it's not Kamala.
It's Michelle.
Jill and Michelle.
It's Michelle Obama.
They're the Mary and Sandy of Washington.
Now maybe Newsmax will take the quote that segment from our show and put it on their show to be like, it's true. The liberals are even the liberals are admitting it.
I would hate to be quoted on that network. However, it'd be a little exciting to be quoted on that network. Like, oh my God, I made national news.
I need them to show the quote.
Yeah.
And then to show you going, oh my God.
Oh my God.
God.
Thanks, everybody.
And then show you giggling at George's penis.
We haven't seen George's penis yet. I bet it's beautiful.
Here's what I bet. I bet if they do show it, it's a prosthetic.
Aw, why you gotta step all over my dreams?
Well, I just feel like...
You hateful cunt. I'm gonna make sure my mother does not listen to this episode.
Yeah. Hey, Ma, while we're covering Mary and George, how about you take
I'm sorry, it was
take
the
a
English in
7-week
me.
hiatus from the show?
Yes.
Okay, so great. It's really a good show. I think anybody would enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth the $3.99
it's like
that
trash
Starz is or
TV,
whatever it
but
is.
like classy trash TV.
Yeah.
I like it. Speaking of class and trash, we watched a movie.
Yeah, so we were debating what to watch, and we refused to pay $20 to watch the show that we're going to cover probably next time.
Week because it is now
'Cause it's
on
now
Peacock
free.
for free.
So
Well,
we're
I mean,
gonna-
if you have Peacock.
Yeah, we're gonna yeah, or if you have a jet.
I like Peacock.
They got long necks. They also do.
Yeah.
I like turtles. that was the best way to describe that scene. I loved it. Anyway, so we're trying to decide what to watch, and we're looking at things. And I think you had a suggestion, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to watch that movie. I forget what it was. But I was just like, no, I don't want to do it. Or we didn't want to pay $20 to watch.
Yeah.
Something.
So you recommended a movie.
But I just looked up, movies. Gay movies in 2024, and this one popped up. It's called He Went That Way.
Yes.
Which has all I can think of is Quinto now.
Zachary Quinto. And Jacob Elordi.
Yeah, and Jacob Elordi.
Elordi.
And they're in this thing, and it's really like they're in 90. It's just the two of them in like 99% of the show.
Yeah.
And it's and I thought, well, this has got to be gay.
I mean, if you watch the trailer seems pretty gay.
Yes.
Now, the movie itself has some... I mean, there is kind of like a homoeroticism between the two of them, like a sexual energy.
There is the thing. It kind of goes back to what I said this in the last episode, that if someone is just strikingly beautiful, I think everybody will notice it. So if there's a guy that's just beautiful, then other guys that are straight will notice it. And so I think that's kind of what was happening here is like Zachary Quinto plays a straight guy in this who in the trailer
He's kind of gay.
has a lingering eye and some pretty gay clothes.
Yeah.
And
he's very fashionable. He's in the entertainment industry.
Right. And so I thought for sure it's not a gay storyline, but we were
Zachary Quinto is gay
because he's gay,
and Jacob Elordi has not said he's not gay.
We're not starting rumors on this podcast.
There's still hope.
I mean, we can hope. He is another beautiful, beautiful man.
God, he's gorgeous. Oh my God, if him and Nicholas Galazine would both be hammers to my anvil, I could die a happy man. Anyway, so we watched this movie.
I got a whole lot of bucket for those 2 shovels.
Was that a fat joke? Did you call me fat? I do have a lot of bucket, gentlemen, if you're listening.
No, I wasn't. Oh, I wasn't really saying that. I was just saying you've been used.
Well, if Jacob and Nicholas are listening, I have a lot of bucket, and you can shovel whatever you want. Anyway, so the movie came out for audiences earlier this year in January, but it actually was made in 2023, and it premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in June of 2023, and then I guess was trying to find a distributor, finally found one, and was released in the United States on January 5th, 2024. 3 months later, we watched it.
Because we are right on top of these things.
We love a movie
Here's what
that
we
only costs $6 to rent.
We will pay at max $5.99.
Yeah.
We prefer $2.99 or free, but we'll pay up to $5.99.
Or remember that Fran Drescher Christmas movie? $1 to buy it. I paid $1 and I own it. Still haven't watched it.
I think we know why.
Oh, since the first time. I'll watch it every Christmas, I'm sure.
I don't want to give anything away here.
Yeah.
But I want you to keep this in mind while you're thinking of this number, because the way we end these discussions about movies is that you tell me what you think the Rotten Tomatoes score is.
Oh, yes.
And I want to let you know it's lower than the Fran Drescher movie.
Really? I do know that because you messaged me over the weekend and you said, I'm not going to tell you the score, but I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score. Do you want to watch something else? And I was like, I already watched it.
I know. I saw that Rotten Tomato score, and I was exhausted, right? Because after the softball game, like, I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, and then I drive back to Orlando. I got to go to a softball game, and I come back from a softball game, and I completely mow the grass in the backyard. I edge everything. I pile up like 9 contractor bags full of leaves and completely cleaned everything. And then I was exhausted, and I'm like, crap, I got to watch all this stuff. And so I go to put it on, and the number pops up. And I was like, Jen got mad. And she was like, no. I was like, I'll text Jeremy and see. And so it's got to be the lowest score of anything we've ever watched.
Really?
It has to be. I can't.
This is by far not the worst thing we've ever watched.
No, it's worse. It's got a worse Rotten Tomatoes than that musical, Naked Boy Singing.
No. Dick the musical?
No, I mean, I think
Is it worse than that?
Okay, so
that
while we're
was low.
describing it, Caitlin, will you just look up Dick's the Musical on Rotten Tomatoes and look up Naked Boy Singing?
This is
just
surprising
don't ask
me
your
because
computer to show you Naked Boy Singing.
I didn't think this was an amazing movie, but I didn't think this was a terrible movie.
Honestly, after we watched it, I was like, that is not a deserved score.
No. All right, well, let's talk about the movie then. So the movie opens with a tagline that says, this really, in parentheses, mostly happened. So it's kind of a true story.
And I didn't know that, but movies based off a true story are my favorite movies.
Yeah.
So
it's the summer of 1964. It stars, as we said, Zachary Quinto and Jacob Elordi. Zachary Quinto plays Jim, who is the owner of Spanky, a chimpanzee who is like a celebrity chimpanzee. And he is driving cross country to get to Chicago for a meeting, a gig. And we're using air quotes if you're not watching, because he calls it a gig, but later you'll find out what it actually is. And then Jacob Elordi plays Bobby, who is a serial killer, whom over the course of this movie and flashbacks, you realize he has shot and killed 2 gas station attendants or garage attendants. This is 1964, so like gas stations are automotive places that work on cars. Mm-hmm. Also, instead of places you go to get Funyuns and Mountain Dew when you're getting gas, which is what they are now. So,
do you still eat Funyuns?
Sometimes, yeah, I like Funyuns.
Do you? I used to eat them all the time. It's not something. You know what's so funny? I used to eat them as a kid all the time, and now that I'm an adult and I can have them whenever I want, I don't think I've ever bought a.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I whenever I get like a sub or a sandwich or something, I don't like eating regular chips, but like if I need a side, I'll get Funyuns because I feel like I'm eating onion rings.
I think I'm gonna get Funyuns today.
They're pretty good.
Those are good.
If you don't like the shape or the consistency of Funyuns, I did see at Wawa's the other day, they have rippled potato chips seasoned in Funyun. I guess Funyun is a season, but they're Funyun season.
Oh my god! I bet those Funyun chips in like a French onion dip would be delicious.
Or a tzatziki dip. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway.
Anyway, so the movie opens
Getting hungry.
with Bobby driving around in a car, and he's talking, and you realize he's talking to a dead body, and he's like doing donuts in the desert, and he opens the door, and the body goes flying out, and they're like, well, this happened, but let's show you how it happened. And then it's like a few weeks ago in Death Valley. So we go back a few weeks.
You know what my first note says while he's talking to that dead body? I just wrote down, Bobby's hot.
God damn it. God, Bobby's hot.
Just, I mean.
So gorgeous.
How do you.
Not only is he gorgeous, but he's like
those kind of
6'5".
Yeah.
6'4", something like that.
He's very handsome.
Tall and handsome. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we go back a few weeks. It's the summer of 1964. And we meet Jim. Jim's car is broke down. He's at one of those little gas stations in the middle of in the desert. And so the guy's like, yeah, I can get it running. And then Jim goes and makes a call. He's on a payphone. He makes these calls on payphones throughout the movie. And you kind of learn a little bit of his story with each call. But this one, he's talking to a woman. He's saying he's going to visit somebody. You have no idea who he's going to visit. You don't have no idea who the woman is. But as he's talking on the phone, you see Bobby is out front the gas station. He's hitchhiking. And this is the first indication that this might be a gay movie because Jim is like staring at him like longingly. Like he wants to, like, he's like, wow, that is a beautiful man. So the gas station attendant comes out, or the owner of the gas station comes out, and he's like, get out of here. This isn't like, a hangout place. You get out of here.
And he's like, you want to take a swing at me?
Oh, yeah, because he comes out with a bat. And he James Cagney's like, hey, see here, don't you swing that bat at me. So to diffuse the situation, Jim's like, hey, do you want to ride? You going somewhere? I'll give you a ride. So Bobby gets in the car reluctantly.
Did we say what year this is?
1964.
Okay.
Yeah. So we find out Bobby was in the Air Force. Go Air Force. And he was discharged. And Jim asked him, he goes, oh, what did you get discharged for? And this is the first instance where we notice that Bobby has an anger management problem. And he gets all pissed off, and he's like, I'm not answering any more of your stupid fucking questions.
I love it because he keeps asking him about him. And he's like, what is this, a game show?
So he's like, I don't want to answer more of your questions. So as he's yelling at him, you hear this noise in the back of his vehicle, which is kind of like an SUV, a truck with a back canopy on it. And he's like, what the hell is in the back of your car? So they go out, and he opens it up, and it's a cage with a chimpanzee named Spanky. So Spanky apparently is a famous chimp. I did a little research on who Spanky was. He was the ice skating chimp of the 50s and 60s.
The only ice skating chimp in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a show on TV that was like, Skating with the Stars or some shit like that. And he would skate with them.
But he also did appearances on like Ed Sullivan and all these other kind of shows.
Probably on the Love Boat.
Probably before
I imagine.
the Beatles.
Yeah. When the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, I believe that there was some sort of Animal Act. Might have been. Would you look that up? Find out what Animal Act was on Ed Sullivan
with
Rotten
Tomato score
the Beatles. Add it to your list.
Okay, cool.
So, Bobby becomes kind of, infatuated with this chimpanzee. He's like, oh, this is really cool.
Well, because
I'm a fan. He's a fan of the not a monkey. Don't call it a monkey. Zippy. But he's a fan, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you have him. He's in the back of the car. So they're traveling along, and they stop at a hotel in New Mexico.
Is this when he first meets him? Is that when he describes how strong he is?
I don't remember that part.
Do you remember when he says he's as strong as 7 men?
Oh, the monkey.
Yeah.
I mean, the chimpanzee.
Yeah,
yes.
the chimpanzee.
I thought you meant like Jacob Elordi's character. He's like, I'm super strong.
They say he says he's as strong as 7 men, and then Jacob Elordi's character goes 7 queer men.
Yes, I do remember that part.
Like, what does that mean even?
So they go to the hotel, and Jim's like, I'm sure they have hotel rooms with 2 beds. implying that Bobby can stay with him. And Bobby's like, no, I'm good. I'll just sleep in your car, which is so weird to me. But it's the 60s. Maybe that's what they did.
And it was
back
the
then.
desert. See, nowadays with global warming, you could never do that.
Yeah. And he left.
Although it gets cold in the desert. At night, doesn't
and
it?
he left Spanky in the car. I was like, wow, you just left everyone in the car just to fend for themselves.
I won't do this the whole time because we'll talk about the real story later. But what really happened is Spanky and the trainer slept in the hotel, and the killer slept in the car by himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So Jim goes in and he gets a room, and it's weird because it's like everybody just gets pissy with Jim throughout this whole movie. It's so hilarious to me. So Jim goes in to get the room, and the guy who's working at the hotel, he's like, you seem like you're having some trouble. Would you like to buy a knife? He's like, it's dangerous out there. I sell knives. And he's like, no, just the room. And the guy gets mad at me. He's like, fine, I'll just pack up my knives. Here's your damn key. I'm like,
fine, die.
Yeah, like, why is everyone so weird in the desert? Anyway, so he gets the key, and he comes out, and Bobby is sitting in the driver's seat of one of the cars, just parked there at the hotel. And he's like, hey, new friend Bobby.
Come see what I got.
What are you doing? Why are you sitting in that car? He's like, come look. Honestly, I thought he was going to show him his dick.
Because he was holding a gun next to his crotch.
Yeah, and he's like, come look at this.
Come look at it. He's like, it's dark. I can't see anything.
And he's like, what do you have
blow in
there?
my ear. You'll see it eventually.
And then he pulls the gun out and points it at Jim. And Jim's like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is a stick up. And he goes, nah, we're friends. You can't stick me up. So he beats him up and robs him. Takes his ring, takes his wallet. But he doesn't like rob him and then leave. He goes, he robs him. And he goes, I'll be in the car. He goes in, sleeps in his car. So Jim goes into his room and he goes to sleep. And Bobby sleeps in his car. Monkey's sleeping in his car. And then we have a flashback to the garage where Bobby shoots his first victim. He's got him tied up and shoots this guy straight in the head. Because, again, asking questions.
Yeah, and I think that the Bobby's problem is he doesn't like to be lied to. So when he feels like somebody's lying to him, he immediately shoots them. So I guess that he asked this guy he must ask the guy if he had any weapons, and the guy said no. And then while the guy's on his knees and tied up, somehow a gun falls out of his pocket, and he's like, "You lied, bam."
Yeah, doesn't like to be lied to, and has a short temper. So we cut to the next morning. Jim comes out of his room. Bobby's still there. And a cop pulls up, and Bobby's like, did you call the cops? Don't you lie to me. And he's like, I didn't call the cops, I swear.
Oh, my God. So when the cops show up, there are two things I love the most in this movie, and this is number two, is that outside of wherever they are, outside of the hotel room, there is what has to be like a 7-year-old girl smoking a cigarette. And a little girl
smoking a cigarette, just watching this whole thing happen. This movie is full of just random things.
Yeah.
It's like has nothing to do with the story.
So this 7-year-old girl smoking a cigarette, and the cop car comes, and throws a cigarette out.
So weird. So they get in the car. Bobby tells Jim to get in the car.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. I'll just say, I'm going to tell this story differently to protect the innocent.
Sure.
But I'm at a theme park, and let's just say that I'm with a friend, and like we all used to like grab cigarettes and smoke them when we were children walking around a theme park smoking cigarettes. And this friend of mine, like some guy walks by and he's like, "Aren't you a little young to be smoking cigarettes?" And this friend goes, "I'm 13." And what's funny is that he wasn't. He was like 10 or 9. And so it was just hilarious to me when I saw this kid smoking, and it reminded me of that.
Does your friend know that 13 is still not the legal age to smoke?
Well, this was, I'm older, right? So this was like, you're talking mid-'80s, early 80s. So you could just walk into, a 5-year-old could walk into a convenience store in the mid-'80s and buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. Sounds like terrible times. Thanks, Reagan. He was the president in the 80s. I didn't know if you knew that. I was just saying.
Oh, I was like, I thought you were talking about the actor.
He was terrible too. What a terrible actor. Have you ever seen a Reagan movie?
No.
They're awful. I see why he could change careers. So they get in the car, and Jim makes an offer to Bobby. He's like, listen. You don't have to hit me anymore. You don't have to shoot me. I will take you as far as Chicago, and I won't tell the cops. And all you have to do is give me my wallet and my ring back. And Bobby says, I'll give you a counteroffer. I will shoot you in both of your eyeballs, and I will take your car. So they decide that
Deal.
Right now, he's just going to drive them, and he's going to keep the ring and the wallet, and they're just going to leave it at that for now. So they're driving. They make a stop off in Amarillo to see Jim's brother-in-law. So Jim, you find out through the course of the phone calls, through the payphones he's making, he's been calling his wife, and her brother, Jim loaned him money, and he's been trying to collect that back because work ain't so good for the monkey anymore, the chimpanzee. So they stop off, and he's like, hey, what about that loan? You're going to pay that? You're going to give that back? And he pulls up. It's a trailer. The Saul is his brother-in-law. He's I'm going to use air quotes here, a preacher. And he's living in the trailer with a young girl who's, like smoker age girl.
I thought it was his daughter.
So did I, but based on the conversation.
Right. And then where's the wife?
Yeah.
And he's not, I don't understand. I didn't understand this storyline.
Yeah. There's a lot of little like side stories that they never wrap up. They never revisit again. But they bring them up just, I guess, to pack the runtime. I don't know. So Saul's like, I'm not giving you your money back. Jim, you're a weasel, you see? And he's like, oh, have you met my friend Bobby?
Okay, now, during this scene, while he's talking to him, Bobby has moved his way on top of the SUV.
Yes.
And he's standing in the most sexy way that a human being can ever stand. And I'm just like drooling. He's just so good looking.
He is. So he's like, come meet my friend Bobby, thinking, yeah, Bobby's going to rough you up because Bobby's a killer. So he's like, Bobby, come down here and say hi to my friend Saul. And he's all smug. So Bobby jumps down, slaps Jim, and drags to the back of the car, opens the door, choking him. And he's like, get in the cage. And he's like, Bobby, stop, please, Bobby. He's like, get in the cage, and puts him in the cage with Spanky.
And then the preacher's like, oh, it looks like your boyfriend's a little angry there, huh? It's like the whole thing backfired.
So then Bobby storms at Saul, but then it cuts away. So you're like, what happened to Saul? Spoiler alert, nothing happened to Saul. Saul's still alive.
He chases him with the gun,
Yeah.
and you think he kills him.
But you find out later, Saul's alive, and he called his sister. So Bobby takes the car and takes off. We had another flashback, and Bobby shoots another gas station attendee, just out there killing anybody. But when we come back from the flashback, probably one of the best scenes in the movie, Bobby's driving with his shirt off, and just nipples out and everything. And Jim is tied up in the front seat now. And they're driving, and Bobby's like telling him, the most important thing is trust and honesty, Jim. I need you to be honest with me. So they have a little banter back and forth. He unties him, and then much like the beginning of this podcast, he asks if he can dance. And he's like, yeah, I can dance. And he's like, good. And then we cut to the bathroom, and they're getting ready, and the both of them are going to go to a dance club together. It's so weird. It's like this dude is a fucking murderer, and he's like an abusive boyfriend. He's slapping you around, making you sleep in cages.
But according to the movie at this point, the trainer doesn't know that he's murdered
he doesn't
anybody.
know he's a murderer. He just knows he's slapped him around and pulled a gun on him. And so they go to the bathroom, and they're sprucing up, and Bobby's wearing like this white t-shirt, and he's like, no, let me give you one of my sweaters to make you pretty. But there's no gayness between them. He doesn't want him sexually, but he's like, here, let me put a sweater on you and spray you with my cologne. Yes, that's good. So they get all spruced up, and then they go to this club that does like ballroom dancing. But this particular night, they're not doing ballroom dancing. They're doing rock and roll night. And Bobby gets pissed because he can't talk to girls on rock and roll night. He only talked to them on ballroom dancing night. So,
which totally makes sense.
Absolutely. So Jim uses Spanky to talk to a couple of girls.
Yeah, so there's this gaggle of girls in a circle talking. And so he goes over and gets Spanky, pulls him out of the cage, and like says, Go over there to those girls. He doesn't walk Spanky over to the girls.
No.
So these girls turn around, and out of nowhere is this
chimpanzee,
this old chimpanzee,
in
like,
clothes,
what's up?
Walking up, and he's like, ooh, and they're like, you're adorable.
No, would have scared the piss out of me.
Now, I mean, we weren't alive back then, so I don't know how famous Spanky was, but maybe they realized, that's the chimpanzee from
Is that why
Escapades.
he had to wear a shirt that said Spanky so people would know it was him?
They're like, oh my God, you're the famous one. You're not one of those woodland ones. You're a TV. You're a Hollywood monkey. So they're talking with the girl. That's their inn. And they're like, hey, why don't we go back to the hotel? And the four of us, we can hang out with the monkey. And the girls are like, okay, sure. That sounds nice. So they all go back to the hotel. And while Jim is again on one of his payphone calls where his wife is yelling at him about his boyfriend pointing a gun at her brother, Bobby gets a little aggressive with the girls. And so
like
Jim
grabbing
and
throwing shit.
Yeah, throwing them around and grabbing shit. So Jim comes in there and tells the girls that sorry, he must be in character. And gives them this whole rigmarole story about how they're in the film industry and how Bobby is like the next James Dean and he's just in character, and that if we all just sit down and play some gin rummy, which I guess was how you came on to girls back then, we'll play a little gin rummy and we'll answer any questions you have about Hollywood. And they're like, really? Will you? That's intriguing. Let's play some cards. So they play some cards, and then the girls eventually fall asleep. And Bobby and Jimmy are talking, and they're like, he's like, Jim's telling Bobby, maybe you need to be a little more gentle. And Bobby's like, I can be gentle. He goes over to one of the sleeping girls and is like kissing them up their leg and like sliding his hand up their skirt. He goes, is this gentle? Is this gentle, Jim? And Jim's just chugging away at whiskey. It's so creepy.
He starts chugging that whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, I guess he's like, he's going to murder these people, and I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah. So he like gets to the top of what I like to call the underwear region. And then it cuts to the next day. Girls apparently never knew that he kissed up her leg. She slept through the whole thing. So next morning, Jim and Bobby get back on the road. They stop at a diner. This is like that moment where you realize, oh, they've bonded. They're friends now. And to show that they're friends, Bobby gives Jim back his ring and his wallet. This is very sweet. And
but I guess he keeps the money. He just gives him his wallet and the ring.
Yeah, well, he needs the money.
Because he's like, I need you to pay for breakfast.
So they're paying for breakfast, and Jim he always takes it just one step too far. He got his ring, and he got his wallet, and he's like, thanks for this. Now why don't you give me the gun? And Bobby's like looking at him like, the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, come on, just give me the gun. And Bobby looks at him like he's going to shoot him. He's like, all right, never mind. Forget I said anything.
Hey, it was just a thought.
I'll be outside.
You keep it.
You
Keep
do
it pointed
you.
at me. It's okay.
Do whatever. I'll be outside. So he goes outside. Now, during breakfast, the cook keeps looking Bobby's way. And you keep thinking maybe he knows, because they're on the lookout for this guy who shot and killed these garage workers.
Or he's like looking at him saying, that's
or
a
he's
fine
like, damn,
man.
that is a sexy bitch.
Right.
Either way, Bobby took it as aggression and goes into the kitchen and stabs the cook in the hand. And then he comes out, he's like, all right, let's take off.
It was very gruesome. Like, almost like he stabbed it and then ran the knife up a little bit. Oh.
So they take off. And then Jim's like, hey, Spanky hasn't eaten all day. He needs to eat. And Bobby, for some reason, through the whole movie, just wants to feed Spanky. I don't know why. So Jim's like, all right, I'll let you feed Spanky. By the way, did I mention Spanky also jerks off? again, comes out of nowhere. He's like, do you want to feed the monkey? By the way, he jerks off all the time. Monkeys, they're just like us. So they feed an apple. He feeds an apple to him, and they bond, and they're like, oh, we're all such good friends. So good, in fact, that Bobby's like, hey, you drive on to Chicago. I'm going to take a nap. And he's like, all right. So while he's taking a nap, Jim takes Bobby's gun, which is probably not a good idea. So they pull off, and Jim's getting ready to leave. Or, I'm sorry, Bobby's getting ready to leave, and he's looking for his gun, and he can't find it. And he's like, where's my gun? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, where's my gun? He goes, I threw it away. So he chokes him. He like wraps his hands around his neck. He's like, I'm going to fucking kill you. So as he's choking him in the back of the car, Jim reaches up, knocks open Spanky's cage, and Spanky throws open the door and hits Jim in the head, knocking him over. And
I fully expected Spanky to then jump onto Jim and rip his
yes.
face off. Not Jim, but onto
Bobby
Bobby and rip his
like,
face off.
Yeah.
Did not happen.
Did not
he goes over and hugs Jim.
Yeah. And Jim he had the gun, throws the gun on Bobby, and he's like, I was trying to save you. I tried. And then he gets in the car and he leaves. And then he feels bad. Spanky didn't get a proper goodbye. It's so stupid.
He says, we'll find him and you can say a proper goodbye.
Yeah.
As if Spanky was sad and was like, I didn't
my
get
friend. Closure.
Remember when he
Jim's
put you in the
such an
cage
idiot
with
in
me?
this.
How much fun we had together? I wish we could do that again.
So they turn around and they go back and find Bobby. And he's like, hey, Spanky did Spanky want to say goodbye? And he's like, bye, Spanky. And they hug.
Spanky hugs him.
Yeah.
It was adorbs.
And then Jim's like, by the way, that sweater I loaned you when we went dancing, I want you to have it. It looks better on you anyway. And he's like, hey, thanks for the sweater. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I hope you and your girlfriend reconcile. And he's like, yeah. I hope you and Spanky have a good gig. And he's like, yeah, thanks. And then they part ways. And you find out that the gig is Jim is selling Spanky to this animal rights activist that his wife had arranged.
Is that really what was happening? Because my impression, now I may have missed what was really going on, but my impression was that she was immediately going to kill Spanky and taxidermy him. No.
The taxidermies were all her parents.
Okay.
I actually had to, because she has an accent, so I had to turn on captions for this part. But all the taxidermies were from her parents, and she hated her parents for this. In fact, she kind of implies a little bit that she killed her parents because of their dislike of animals. But she's like, she handled the situation. But then she doesn't like animals to be mistreated, so she was going to buy Spanky and release him back into the wild.
It's funny that you say you turn on closed captions for that, because at the beginning of Mary and George, I turn on closed captions when she's told her in the brothel not to eat the prunes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Jen and I were both like, what did she say? I was like, I think she said prunes, but they can't be what she said. So we turned on the captions and saw those prunes. We're like, oh, well. Anyway, so he's going to sell her, or he's going to sell Spanky.
Spanky does not want to be sold and violently lashes out at this girl. I'm sure that she canceled the check, but she wrote the check. Jim gets the check, and then after Spanky lashes out at her, they run out and they leave. And so
because he's gonna he says it's gonna be more money.
Yeah, he said it'd be more money, but she still fills out the check, so it implies that she gave him the extra money, and then he still took off with the monkey.
And he was mad, though, because she wasn't going to let him wear clothes.
Yes, because he is a chimpanzee. He doesn't need your human clothes. And that's actually when Spanky kind of lashed out, is when she started to take his sweater off. And he's like, don't touch me, bitch. This is my sweater. Yeah. So it cuts back to the opening where Bobby's driving around with the dead body. You find out the cops catch up to him. He ended up murdering a total of 5 people. He was arrested, and he even says at the end, you keep asking me about the 5 guys that I killed, which made me laugh because I thought of the burger joint, and I was like, I could kill some 5 guys right now. He goes, why don't you ask me about the one that I let live? And then it cuts to, as most true story, when you watch a movie based on a true story, it cuts to where everybody is.
Oh, wait, before.
Yes.
Like when it ends.
Oh, yes, I forgot that part.
It's so important.
Because there's a narrator,
Yeah.
and you hear the voice,
And
and you realize while you were listening, it's not Zachary Quinto.
You think it's him.
And it's not Jacob Elordi's voice, but you think that
But
it's...
you think you think that they're telling the story of Zachary Quinto's character. But at the very end...
It's Spanky!
Sitting in the back of the thing with a typewriter, all
with a little
dressed...
cigar, pipe some in his mouth, and he's typing away. Spanky told the whole story.
Yeah, it was Spanky's story, and he's typing.
That's why everything was really fucking weird.
So I told you my second favorite part of the movie, but my favorite part of the movie was watching the monkey type. You know what I got to say? If we didn't have computers and we were old-timey reporters, that's me. I picture you and Ryan typing your stories.
If it was old-timey reporting, I'd still be a smoker. You can't type on a typewriter without a cigarette dangling from your mouth.
So then they cut to the actual guy.
Yeah, and he's talking about the story, and it says that Bobby is serving a life sentence in Michigan, which the movie, because it came out in June 2023, it says Bobby's serving a life sentence. He actually died in November.
Yes.
Yeah, so he is dead. Jim retired and remarried and is living in Argentina. And Spanky died in Philadelphia of natural causes.
So you know what was fascinating to me about that? So the guy, Bobby, his real name is Larry Lee Raines.
Yes.
Larry Lee Raines' brother, also
Danny,
a serial killer.
But not
together.
Like when you hear brother killers, like, oh, these brothers are killers, you assume they did it together. They're both murderers, but went on their own paths.
Yeah.
Self-made murderers.
His brother's murdering path was more sexual. And he had
more
a partner.
rapey. Yeah.
More rapey and sexual. Also, Larry, not as cute. They did him right by you know, they upgraded him when they cast Jacob Elordi as him.
Yes,
he wasn't unattractive, but he had a lot of gum.
He had some messed up teeth.
Yeah, he had messed up teeth.
Yeah. But he and nobody is going to live up to Jacob Elordi. That's like having Henry Cavill casted as me when I die in my movie. It's like, really? But if Henry Cavill wants to do it, let him do it.
Fred Savage will be cast as me.
But I saw the pictures of Jim back when he was younger.
Cute.
He was cute.
Yeah.
They didn't do him.
Do you know how they described him in this article I read? They described him as a young Mickey Rooney.
Yes.
So I was reading about it though, and the guy said when he pulled the gun on him, he said it looked like a cannon. And that made me laugh because in the movie he's got like this tiny
a Derringer.
little gun.
Yeah. A little 2-shooter Derringer. Yeah.
But this I said it looked like a cannon. I was like, it was small in the movie. Anyway, Pitts, right? That's the guy.
Yeah.
What's his first name? I forget.
I have it here. It is.
It wasn't Brad.
Dave Pitts.
Dave Pitts. So Dave Pitts is the Zachary Quinto character. That he. But I don't know if it's the same article that we read, but he now has Alzheimer's.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So that like that video of him.
Well, I'm
had to
glad
be
the
taken
monkey
before.
got the story out then.
And I'm glad he told the monkey everything about the time that they were in the bathroom. Otherwise, we'd never have had that bathroom scene.
True.
No, they got most of the of what happened, or most of the true story is from a letter that he wrote to his sister, where he detailed everything, which was interesting because. Like some things were different. Like when they got to the hotel the first night, or after he pulled the gun on him, he made him sleep with the monkey in the cage, and the murderer took the room.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was interesting. So like it just sounded like in the movie they make it seem like they're best friends.
Yeah,
but I don't think that was the case at all.
From what I read, that in real life, the Larry Raines, who's the serial killer, was infatuated with the monkey. Really wanted nothing to do with the guy, and only let him live because he was a fan of the monkey.
Yeah, because there was all this, and in the movie too, it's all this like, what would happen to the monkey if I killed this guy? So I'm not going to do that. All very interesting.
So, I mean, not a great movie, but not a terrible movie. Kind of middle of the road.
Though, in this thing that he wrote to because in the letter that he wrote to his sister, he described that chimps are a lot like toddlers. But like with toddlers, if you spare the rod, you spoil a child, which to me indicated that he would occasionally spank the monkey.
earlier in this podcast, you said, I have a joke for the end of the podcast. And I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be that bad.
I waited an hour and 54 minutes to tell you that.
65 episodes, all leading up to him just being able to tell that one joke.
That is why I picked this movie.
All right. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. That was a good run. 65 episodes.
We will now retire.
All right. So
Rotten Tomatoes. Now, before we Rotten Tomatoes this, I want to know what was Rotten Tomatoes on the Christmas movie with is that the one you looked up?
Oh, the
with
Fran Drescher one?
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
Naked Boy Singing.
What was
That
Naked
one
Boy
was, yeah.
singing?
Audience score 49, critics 67.
Okay, and then
Takes the musical, audience 66.
Audience 66, 57?
Critics 60.
Critics 67. That sticks the musical Rotten Tomatoes.
okay. Oh,
So
I didn't write this. Oh, wait, I did write it down. Okay, so now keeping that in mind,
Yes.
what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes are?
Rotten Tomatoes for this one, I'm going to say audience. Well, we'll go critics. If you said it's worse than those, critics 39 and audiences 48.
Okay, so the audience was 62.
Oh, okay, that's good.
That's.
It's not
I
terrible.
feel like it was better than that.
Yeah.
What was the audience again on Naked Boys was 67?
No, it was 49. Audience score 49.
Oh,
Audience
they're
was
reversed.
49 on
Okay.
Naked Boys. Yeah.
So you were reading the audience first, and okay. So the audience was 49, and so this. Okay, so the audience in this was much higher. Critics 26.
Really?
Yeah.
How many critic reviews?
I don't know. Do you want to just look real quick for He Went That Way? It's got to be a handful. I mean, there were
31 critics. I just pulled.
Okay.
31 critics say positive reviews.
It just 31 critics in total.
Oh, so it's 31 total.
Yeah, and they were all because the people were just complaining about like that there was so much going on and that it wasn't. I thought it was easy to follow. I don't feel like I was missing all that. I don't think it was
Yeah.
worthy of a 26 for
Yeah.
sure. So I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm glad I saw
Patrice
the number.
Witherspoon from Screen Rant said it is a dumpster fire from start to finish. I think you're a dumpster fire, Patrice.
She probably thinks we're a dumpster fire, and that's okay.
That's okay. Screen Rant is trash anyway, so I don't listen to them. But you know who I do listen to? Our audience.
What did you think?
So tell us what you think.
Drop us a
Yeah.
message on the
socials
Instas.
or the Instas,
On the Insta
or
socials.
the emails. But we will be back next week.
With
We've
some
got a
Mary
new
and George
episode of
continue.
Mary and George, and we'll be watching Drive Away Dolls, which is available to stream on Peacock. So if you want to watch along with us, watch this week, and we will be back next week. And until then, the cork is back in the bottle.